What is going on, folks? I am excited to say that we are back with tournament coverage. Gen 9 OU, no Legends ZA plus Gen 9, no Megas, none of that. We're back to the basics. Good old Gen 9 OU. Little King Gambit here, little Terra Blast Fly, Dragonite there. Back to basics. Tournament coverage, semifinals as well. You know, if the playoffs started of a big tournament, I was not going to miss that. I was going to get the tournament analysis done. We're going to deep dive this. We're going to take a look at some of these crazy teams, crazy plays. Every time any tournament gets to the playoff stage, you know it's going to get epic, and I always love catching it. Look at the teams you guys see here today. We got Mimikyu Hyper Offense here on the field. I know you saw the thumbnail, that huge Mimikyu sprite I put. I knew it just made you click, and you wanted to see what's good with Mimikyu. Why is that being brought in a Gen 9 OU semifinals game? Well, we're going to find out. So I have 5 different games here today. They're all best of 1 battles, as in this format, the Showdown Champion League. It is a team tournament, so each player plays 1 game, and their teammates also have to win, and you just beat the other team by winning more games. I believe you have to win 6-4, as it's 10 games, so you got to win at least 6-4, and if you tie 5-5, then you go into tiebreak. So I got 5 different BO1 games here. Normally, I prefer to record and to watch best of 3 series, just because it's pretty nice to see how a player changes their mentality, teams, plays, all that through each, following game. But best of 1 is also pretty interesting because you can see some really crazy one-off techs. If you only need to win 1 game versus your opponent, it really can convince you to kind of bring something crazy. In the past, I've done the same. You only need to win 1 game. It's not a best of 3, so those surprise techs, they can really end up working. But intro aside, let's get into it. We do have a lot of games here. Like I said, semifinals hype. Let's get into it. So we got ABR versus Separation as the first game. ABR, one of the GOATs of competitive mons. I've played this guy so many times. One of my earliest bros for more than a decade now, but he's going crazy in this tournament in Gen 9. I believe he is 9-1 up until this point. So he's just slaying everybody. Or no, he's 8-1 going up to this point. So he's just been cooking everybody. His team is really interesting here. Mimikyu Hyper Offense, not something we really see. Mimikyu I've seen exactly twice in Gen 9 tournaments up until this point. I saw it in 2023 where it won using a red card set on Grassy Terrain Hyper Offense, and then I saw it in 2024 as well, where it got 6-0'd, and I don't even remember what the set was, but it got completely packed up. So the 2 times I've seen this before now, it's won once and lost once. So I really didn't have much of a sample size of what to expect from Mimikyu. But it is a ghost type. I knew it was going to be spin blocking. That's the only reason you would run this Pokemon. And red card plus disguise is pretty nice on this, because with disguise you can soak up any 1 attack, and then red card lets you scare out whatever booster Pokemon. So like if you switch this into Valiant Moonblast, they're screwed because they just got forced out, and if you have hazards up from Tinglu, whatever switches in is gonna have to take those hazards. It can also scare Zamazenta out, if you play against Heavy Slam 4 attack Zama. And if it's Body Press Crunch iDef Zama, then Mimikyu is actually able to own that thing with Wisp, Destiny Bond, Taunt. It really doesn't matter. So Mimikyu is not a very consistent Pokemon by any means, and it's definitely not my first option when it comes to running a spin blocker, but I do understand the purpose of it on this team, as opposed to running Golden Go or Sinistra. Most of the time, you're just going to see a gold, like a Scarf Gold or a Balloon Gold, as that's the best way to keep hazards off. But Mimikyu does have its bonuses, right? 320 speed. It has D-Bond, and then Disguise plus Red Card. That's a big deal, in terms, at least for an offense team, where they're not going to be able to soak hits up much at all after Tinglu takes some hits, getting up hazards. Being able to go into that Mimikyu and then have a Pokemon force itself out can be invaluable. So anyways, that's basically what we're looking at with ABR's team, this little Mimikyu offense. We got DD Dragonite, of course, Latios, which I was pretty sure was going to be Soldu looking at the team, just because Scarf Latios makes no sense on a team with no special attackers. I think that's probably not going to work out well. Zamazenta could have been iDef or Boots, but I was thinking Boots because this team has no removal whatsoever. Gambit is Gambit. Terra Ghost is pretty likely on this team, just because opposing Zamazenta with iDef can 6-0 really easily if the Mimikyu's disguise gets broken trying to check it the first time. And then the Dragonite could be Terra Blast, but I was thinking it was just going to be Boots 3 attack, because again, this team is really weak to hazards. There's no removal on this team at all. Like no Tusk, no nothing. So I would assume the Dragonite's Boots. Otherwise, this team can, not really have too much, like, ease of setting up Dragonite. Like, going with a Scale Shot Dragonite or even a Terra Blast non-Boots Dragonite, it's going to be hard to set this up. This team doesn't really stop rocks from going up. Like, nothing on this team even one-hit KOs Landorus, T, for example. So it would be able to get rocks up on anything. But yeah, ABR has a basic offense. Hopefully Mimikyu can keep the hazards off. Separation is running a team that we've seen quite a few times in Gen 9 tournaments so far. I can recall 2 games where I saw this in official ladder tournament. Speaking of the official ladder tournament, Separation is hot off winning that tournament. So this is a pretty heavyweight game. ABR had the best record in the tournament at 8-1, and Separation just came off winning the biggest OU tournament of the year. So this was a heavyweight match. These guys did play, though, earlier in the season, and ABR cooked Separation. He had a Swords Dance Iron Hands dual screens team, and he whooped his ass. So I know Separation, you know, wants some revenge here. But he's using a team that we've seen before. Specs Tornadus T, Banded Tyranitar. This is the offensive choiced core, which I think is pretty cool. I've seen Specs Torn T a few times. I've myself never used it in Gen 9, but it's cool because you can just spam Bleak Windstorm. 80% is marginally better than Hurricane 70, so you're able to kind of like more effectively spam those attacks. You still probably will miss, but overall this thing does have good moves. Grass Knot, Heat Wave, Focus Blast is there too if you want to run it. It could even use Dark Pulse. So Tornadus T's coverage has never been bad, and then with 110 special attack and Terra Fly, like I've seen this thing Terra Fly and then Bleak Wind 2 at KO Golden Go, for example. So with Terra and Specs, you can obviously break through some resists. Extra Drill is the hazard removal. Tinkaton is here as the, you know, soak for dragon type attacks, fairy type attacks in general, and for Stealth Rock. Sinistra, water resist, of course, for Ogerpon, and then Alomomola backup. Now, this team overall, I think is pretty decent. I haven't used this myself. I like my sand teams to have, I don't know, I guess a little bit more offense. Torn T, I don't like the idea of offensive Torn T. I think you could very well just put a Roost Zapdos defensive and get the exact same thing that you're going to get out of Torn T on a team like this. But in any case, I would say the matchup is pretty 50-50, or ABR leads this matchup 60-40, just because King Gambit fucks this team up so bad. Separation has nothing for King Gambit except for a faster Tyranitar using Choice Band Low Kick. The rest of these Pokemon, they all die to +2 Sucker Punch and Iron Head, right? Mola, Sinistra, Tinkaton all get set up on and disposed by King Gambit, and then Tornadus dies to boosted Sucker Punch, same with Drill, and then if Tyranitar gets to half, it's also going to die to +2 Sucker Punch. So I would say Gambit has a pretty easy time setting up and winning this game as long as ABR doesn't get impatient and switch it into some Specs Bleak Wind. Turn 1, we see Grass Knot at this 49%, way too much damage, and we see no Life Orb on the Torn, so that confirms that it's Specs. Red card activates as rocks go up. ABR's team is hyper offense, like I said at team preview. You just want to get as many hazards up as you can. Use use Mimikyu to spin block, and then try and break as much as you can with both Zamazenta, Latios, Dragonite, and then King Gambit can really just clean up this team at any time. And like I said from preview, I think it's 4 attack Zama. So if this is not Boots Alomomola, we can see Zama putting in some work. Sinistra gets dragged in, and Separation is going to switch out immediately just because Matcha Gotcha is a 2-hit KO on Ting Lu, and he probably doesn't want to take a Ruination and get low. Goes into Tyranitar because he can click Banded Low Kick. ABR is more than happy to stay in and just get up the spike because that's the whole point of this team. Like I said, get up the hazards and start breaking. And now that Tyranitar came in, it basically is like a huge alarm letting ABR know, oh, this thing is Banded Low Kick. Why else would it come in? Plus, there's a Tinkaton on this team, so you already know that's going to be running Stealth Rock because why would you have Stealth Rock Tyranitar and then a random Tinkaton without Stealth Rock? Like, that doesn't make sense. Tinkaton only runs support in OU, so it's surely going to be running Stealth Rock at the end of the day. Alright, so ABR decides to switch into a Zamazenta, not wanting to let Ting Lu die. Banded Ice Punch comes out, does a decent amount to Za, but because of the Dauntless Shield, it's still able to tank that easily. Close Combat comes out. Now, this Close Combat doing 48 means that this is obviously some boosting item. It's not Choice Band because Alomomola took hazards, so we know that it's not Fizdef. Fizdef Alomomola only runs Helmet or Boots. Those are the only 2 items it runs. This set is not Boots and it's not Helmet, meaning it's Assault Vest, meaning it's max special defense. So it's not really good at taking these physical attacks regardless. But in any case, I know Zamazenta is not capable of doing this much to Alomomola with CC unless there's a boosting item. So this Zamazenta is either Black Belt or Muscle Band. And I think after the game, ABR told me that it is Muscle Band. Because even when I saw this, I was like, alright, 48's not possible. Even if this is a Spidef Alomomola, you cannot do 48% with an unboosted Zamazenta. This thing still has a crazy HP and still a decent defense stat to where it just can't do that kind of damage. But anyways, Alomomola comes in, gets absolutely fucked up by Hazards, Close Combat, and then Sand, putting it at 21%. Now, Separation makes kind of a bad play here, goes into Sinistra, definitely a desperation play, not wanting to lose his Mola, but we know from CC doing 48 that Crunch is going to kill at 21, so it's a very free click. Sinistra comes in, takes a shit ton. This is where that Muscle Band is showing its worth because now it's doing 42 instead of 37 to 38. This shit still would have probably been 2-hit KO, but Actually, no. The Sinistra's leftovers. This also goes to show that Separation's greedy item choices are pretty tough and kind of sabotaging him here, because Excadrill is the only way of removing. Excadrill has to click Rapid Spin. It's not going to be able to Rapid Spin in the face of Mimikyu, which is also faster than Drill outside of Sand, so it can end up clicking D-Bond on Ironhead and really fuck up Separation that way, if that ends up happening, and then Hazards will never leave. But Mola being AV is, I mean, that's how it always goes. You're going to be weak to Hazards, but Sinistra being lefties I think is super greedy, personally. I get wanting to have the sturdy counter into Ogerpon, but I don't know, man. Boots is just so good. Even if spikes aren't up, I don't want my Sinistra to take rocks. And this team is, I mean, I get that he has sand, so he wants to kind of negate the sand chip since, you know, he has a lot of Pokemon weak to sand, but I don't know. We see the lack of boots and Separation's own sand really sabotaging him here as Crunch gets clicked on the switch. Desperation Terra gets clicked because otherwise he absolutely will lose every single Mon to close combat 1-by-1. Terra is clicked, Terra Fighting, and Strength Sap is then clicked. So Zamazenta is now curved a little bit, but where are the close combat switch-ins on Separation's team? Everything is 2-hit KO'd at this range by Muscle Band close combat. No Terra needed either. Everything is cooked, especially because the Sinistra just dropped its ghost typing. So close combat, there's still a lot left. Latios comes in here on Shadow Ball. Good play by Separation, knowing that ABR is forced to switch out. Knowing that Gambit's not going to come in either, because Gambit coming in on Matcha Gacha would be fucking crazy. Also, he doesn't know the set. What if Separation did some crazy shit like put Terra Blast Fight? You never know. In any case, Lottie's still a pretty free switch, because good Spadef only took 70. It's able to Roost for free. There's no Pursuit in this anymore. Roost for free as Tyranitar comes in. Separation knows Roost is getting clicked, which is why Tyranitar comes in. Doesn't want to go into Tinkaton, I guess, and get rocks. Would rather click Ice Punch with Tyranitar, which I think is a good play. You can get rocks up at a later time. Bandit Ice Punch does get clicked. Tinglu actually ends up living that, which is nice. But at this point, ABR doesn't have a better switch. There's no point going into King Gambit, taking that damage, even risking freeze. Gambit owns this team. I said at preview, once Tyranitar gets to 50, it's going to die to +2 Sucker. This thing is already at 50, if not less, after Hazards, right? So the only other counter Separation really has then is what? Encore Tinkaton. Terra's been exhausted too. And we know this Sinistra is probably not Terra Blast. It's probably Strength Sap, Shadow Ball, Matcha, Calm Mind, regular shit. So Gambit just looks better and better with each passing turn. Za comes in. Aloma Mola has to get sacked at this point. I think Mola should have got sacked earlier on in the game. It doesn't take an expert to know that Mola coming in here with these hazards up, it was pretty much clipped. Like, you're not going to be able to get any utility out of this 21% Mola after this turn. Because the spin is not easy. We see we're at turn 11 and he wasn't able to get the spin off. And it's going to come in and have to take those hazards again. So regen is already nullified. So that's literally what happens here. Mola just has to get sacked to that CC. Comes in, dies. Za's going crazy. Drill comes in here with the Sand Rush. Attempts to go for the Rapid Spin. I think that was a really noob play. Hazards have been carrying ABR the whole game and allowed him to make the plays he's been making pretty comfortably and pick off each Mon with Zama. If Rapid Spin gets clicked, that Sinistra ends up looking like a really big threat. That was really a bot Rapid Spin click. There's no other play besides Mimikyu happening there. Maybe he was hoping that ABR would just stay in and think like, oh, if he Rapid Spins, I live and I kill him back. But clicking Rapid Spin was wrong, especially because, what's it called? Sand ends here anyways. So this was always a free switch for ABR. He's faster, and then again, he has red card, so it's going to get switched out. Here we see a pretty hilarious turn. Thief gets clicked, but the Mimikyu is faster because, again, 320 versus 302. I don't know why he... I mean, maybe he's EV'd on this Mimikyu to be slower than Drill, but the Drill's adamant or something, so he was, like, the Drill was slower than he thought. In any case, Thief happening first and doing nothing is hilarious. It would have been cool if it went second, because you can see Separation does attack here. Red card Mimikyu is shown. Disguise gets busted and Drill gets removed. So it would have been funny. Mimikyu would have, I guess, what, stolen the balloon? I don't know if it works like that, or do you pop the balloon instead? In any case, Thief made no difference, but pretty cool. Made for a shy's thumbnail. Alright, King Gambit comes in on the Gigaton Hammer. I don't know why Stealth Rock wasn't clicked here. I really don't know why Stealth Rock wasn't clicked here. Gigaton makes no sense. Mimikyu's not a threat to Tinkaton either. Like, what are you afraid of? Getting Will-O-Wisp? Like, who cares? Even though Rocks doesn't hit King Gambit or Zama for much, it's still good to have that progress, especially because look at this turn. Sinistra comes in on Ironhead. And now what? Lottie, I think, comes in, right? Yeah. Lottie comes in as Strength Sap gets clicked. But if Rocks went up, what if Separation clicked Shadow Ball on the switch into Lottie? It would have died with Rocks up. This thing would have been at 58% after leftovers. Nothing kills it at 58, short of Terra Blast Fly D-Knight. So, I don't know. Going for rocks there could have really ended up saving him. I really don't see why that Gigaton was clicked. Mimikyu is not a threat. Tinkaton comes in here on Psy Noise, does a lot. 27, showing that this is absolutely Soldu. I think ABR told me after this is modest, which, okay, bro. Modest is fucking crazy, but sometimes I'd be going greedy with the power. But not modest Latios. I've done modest Scarf Lati with Terra Dragon. That's really good. But regular Soldu modest, this brother wants all the power possible. Psy Noise does a little bit. King Gambit comes back in here as rocks do go up this turn, which is good. Able to get something back there. Cha comes back in. It's actually, the Terra fight on Cha is low-key good defensively in more ways than just soaking Katao Cleave. It resists rocks now instead of being neutral, so the hazards being up aren't as bad as I thought. Sinistra comes in, takes 34, but Strength Sap is forever free on this Pokemon. ABR stays in one turn here just to Iron Head again. Doesn't really gain anything from that. If I'm Separation, I would just Shadow Ball here. Yep, Shadow Balls for 17%. ABR, actually, that was a good call by ABR to Iron Head again, knowing that Shadow Ball's free, and knowing that this turn, he can probably go into the Lati if he needs to. What would I click here? Would I Strength Sap, or would I Shadow Ball? I don't know. I think I would Strength Sap. I think you have to. Okay, Za comes in as Strength Sap does get clicked. This basically means that Roar is happening because no other reason to bring in Za. Alright, clicking Calm Mind is crazy. I think Matcha Gacha was the better play then, because like, why wouldn't you just... I understand trying to Calm Mind so you can beat the Lati, but Lati already fucking destroys you with Psy Noise, even if you get +1 Spadaf. Like, this is modest Soldu. It's still going to do enough for whoever to pick you off afterwards, and your leftovers aren't going to work that turn. I think this coming in was so obviously Roar that he should have just taken his Matcha Gacha. Because even if Close Combat gets clicked, this is -1. It's not doing more than like 35-40%. And then Matcha would just recover it all back anyways. This is lefties. So I really don't agree with this Calm Mind. Maybe he was just going for like a desperation play, like hopefully it's not Roar, but this would never come in unless it's Roar. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Why would you go from walled Pokemon to walled Pokemon? Like, that's never happening. So that was definitely a misplay. Roars into the Tinkaton, which is good for ABR as he's able to CC here. And we see that do 35, even at -1. Still doing a decent amount because of that fucking muscle band or whatever. Lati comes in here as Separation goes to a Strength Sap. Nice play by ABR, knowing that if Shadow Ball gets clicked... Actually, if Shadow Ball gets clicked, he might have been fucked. Unless he had Terra Fly D-Knight. So that was just a big call out there. Nice play. Tinkaton comes in here. We see Draco Meteor. Goes for Draco, trying to catch the Tyranitar. Sinistra comes in. What the fuck? He's going to click Psy Noise, bro. You're at 24. Oh, no. Alright, these are definitely some panic plays. I think he's, like, looking for any potential way to, like, get the differential. So he's up 5-4, but it definitely wasn't that way. It was to sack and then... Nah. Alright, so Sinistra dying means there's no way to win anymore for Separation, short of Excadrill putting on a Masterclass sweep, which is still doable. Never counted out, but without Terra, it would have to outplay every King Gambit turn from this point onwards. So Specs Bleak One comes out. We see Tinkaton come in here, and it's just going to die to the Iron Head, which is free for Gambit to go for. Score goes to 4-3. Tyranitar comes in here. ABR has a free sack in Latios, which loses to everybody, so he's going to go to it. It actually ends up being not a sack as low kick gets clicked. And so this Latios got the defensive goob nut off, bro. This thing came in on low kick. It came in on Shadow Balls. It roosted up. Psy Noise, Draco. This guy was putting in work. Draco's free here because Separation only has one play, which is to switch to his drill to get the rapid spin. Does a shit ton, 55%. So actually, Modest came in clutch here. Because what if that was a roll and had potential to kill? Timid would have done 50, but what if that could have killed with Modest? So I actually can't hate on Modest after that. And if that killed, I would have been here saying Modest is the GOAT. So let me not hate. In any case, spin is free, but ABR knows that it's free and doesn't want to give the sack away for nothing. So I like this play of going into Gambit. No one's clicking EQ that turn. Spin is too free. It's always getting clicked. So keep your sacks. This is a playoffs game. Excuse me. Citrus Berry King Gambit spotted. I cannot believe we just saw that. This guy's running literal in-game BSS items to get back 25%. That's fucking hilarious. I was looking at this like this was Lumberry the whole time, but alright. We see a switch into Tornadus as King Gambit Terra Ghosts and clicks Iron Head. Okay, Terra Ghost to stop any Swords Dance mind games and then also to live the EQ. I get it. Sucker Punch gets clicked here as Excadrill switches in, but King Gambit is way too fucking bulky. Earthquake only does 50%, so it's able to click Iron Head here with ease. Even if Drill is going to come in this turn, Earthquake still won't kill at 56 because it's leftovers. Comes in, switches out on the sucker. Nice play to get the extra sand turn, but even then, I think this lives if there's any HP EVs. Ate that shit easily. This has got to be max HP Gambit to take only 42. And that is going to be a wrap, since King Gambit is going to pick off most of Torn's HP, and then it's going to die to either Zamazen to CC or Dragonite's attack, whichever one. ABR decides to go into D-Knight. So it was Boots D-Knight, which makes the most sense on this team, like I said. There's no removal. Like, he could have had scale shot plus fire punch, but that would be so greedy on a team that, again, like, there's literally no rapid spin whatsoever. But pretty strong game from ABR. I think he got many turns, like many crucial turns correct. Early game was amazing, going into the Zama, getting the close combat, and then getting the crunch on the switch as well to the Sinistra. At that point, Separation was so far behind in terms of his Pokemon taking damage, and he didn't even have his own hazards up, that he felt like his Sinistra had to Terra. Sinistra Terra wasn't bad. It ended up helping out, but there were some plays later on that I think were wrong. One, this rapid spin here was super, super wrong. This gives up all momentum possible for no reason, especially because Iron Head was free on that turn. It would have killed Za. Maybe it's Rock Slide and not Iron Head, and that's why he clicked that, but then you click EQ because D-Knight's not coming in. So, I don't know. You just don't click Rapid Spin. Not when Sand is about to end and Mimikyu is too free. So that was a big one. Clicking Gigaton on the switch to King Gambit was a useless play. I think going for Rocks would have been better. I guess chipping it is not the end of the world, though. So that's not like the worst play ever. It was really the Rapid Spin that like set him back too much. But if he did get Rocks up earlier, then he could have maybe hit the Shadow Ball on the switch to Lottie. Calm Minding here was wrong. Could have killed the Za or gotten damage on it. This was definitely still winnable for Separation, even after the early game, but ABR really had everything in control the majority of the game. So ABR goes on to being 9-1 in this tournament, which is the best record for OU in this tournament. He told me this is his 4th time getting 9 wins in a tournament, which is crazy. I've only got 9 wins one time, and he told me he's now gunning for his to break his record, which was he went 10-1 in a tournament back in the day. Who was that one loss? Damn, I gotta ask him when I get a chance. Who could that one loss have been? But anyways, I digress. Shouts to ABR, my boy. I'm happy to see him win. Shouts to Separation, very strong battler. But I gotta say, in this game, ABR had bro downloaded. So I think this series went to tiebreaker or something overall. So I think ABR now plays semifinals. So maybe I'll catch that live or post-com. But let's move on to Battle 2. All right, next up we have Baddy versus Finchinator. This guy's name is Baddy, but he ain't bad. You got to remember, we in the semifinals, the playoffs. Everybody's bringing their A game. They're bringing some threats. So, looking at the teams, 2 pretty different styles. Baddy brought hyper offense, booming out the gate. We have some defensive stuff in Primarina, and then some all-purpose defensive stuff like Dragonite, Great Tusk. They're both offensive and defensive. Looking at the team, Primarina is most likely Assault Vest, just because this team doesn't have many good switch-ins to special attacks as a whole. Finchinator's team is defensive. We see a nice little defensive core there. Good typing, static on the Zapdos, potential flame body on the Heatran. Little hack stuff to get rid of King Gambit. Gliscor is Gliscor. I love Ogerpon C, especially with hazards. Wait, Ogerpon C is Cornerstone. This is Ogerpon Regular. I like Ogerpon Regular though, especially if you have Spike support, because you knock off everything, and then it has that Terra, which gives it the +1 speed. That can be really easy to abuse. Looking at it though, Finch's team is pretty nice as far as bulky offense teams go. This looks like a team that I wouldn't mind using myself, but you do got to be careful using a team like this, because like Kyurem Terra Ground, for example, kills everybody. And the team also probably relies on Ogre to do much of the breaking. I guess there's potential SD Gliscor, but on this team, I think I would rather have Hazards Gliscor myself. And there's no removal, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be Boots, Chili Reception, Glow King, Boots Zama, Boots, what's it called, Ogre, and then just lefties Heatran. As for Baddy's team, I've seen this type of structure running around since the beginning of time. Like, this has been around for like more than a year. You can really run whatever. I thought it was going to be lead Deoxys with hazards, even without any spin block, or screens Deoxys, just because there's so many good setup candidates. It could be Booster Tusk with bulk up. Booster Tusk bulk up fucking destroys Finch's team, unless Zapdos paralyzes with static. But if weakened Zapdos happens, then +1 Ice Spinner is going to knock it out, and the rest of these guys are going to die to Headlong and Ice Spinner pretty easily. Moth needs Terra Blast Ground to be that big of a threat, but if Heatran's Flame Body, then Moth is able to get through it. But in any case, Slow King G is usually pretty well equipped to handle Moth, and it's going to be Spadef looking at this team. He has more than enough physical defense answers with Zama and Zapdos that he doesn't need to run a Fizdef Slowking on this team. Gambit is Gambit. They're always Terra Ghost on these types of offense builds because Zama is so threatening to HO. And then I think Primarina is AV. But yeah, and then D-Knight. D-Knight is a piece of shit, man. It's probably just DDEQ. I mean, D-Knight's a huge threat to this team as well, depending on what its coverage moves are going to be. And Scale D-Knight is not bad on these types of builds because you can afford it with Great Tusk, Rapid Spin, and then if Deoxys is screens, it's going to get those up, and D-Knight's getting a free setup on everybody on this team. Like, the team has to click Toxic with Gliscor. So, leads-wise, Baddy might lead off with Deoxys just because, you know, it's like a pretty easy lead, assuming it has a lead set and it's not Life Orb or Nasty Plot or something like that. And then Finch is probably going to lead off with something good into Prim or Deoxys. So I would probably lead with either... I would probably lead with Zapdos if I'm Finch. Alright. Dragonite gets led and Heatran gets led. Leading Dragonite takes some balls to click. I'm not going to lie. It takes some balls to lead Dragonite. I would not have led Dragonite. Clicks Dragon Dance turn 1. Honestly, it's very free. Banded D-Knight fell off. Nobody's using that anymore. But leading Dragonite could have kind of bluffed the potential band. And so because of that, Finch maybe went in the Gliscor thinking, oh, if he goes for EQ, I get a free turn immediately. In any case, going to Gliscor off the DD is not good at all. Because now this D-Knight is boosted. And that's why I said leading off with D-Knight was pretty bold. You don't see this. People always keep their D-Knight for mid to late game. But he really Baddy really identified that Heatran is a good lead into Deoxys, all Deoxys sets. It's going to be able to click Magma Storm, trap the Deoxys, go 1v1, end all the screen's turns by just sitting there with Magma Storm and stalling out the turns. Yeah. So I think that was actually a really, really strong call out on the Heatran. This thing also covered... This thing actually mainly covered Heatran. Everything else has a way to deal with this. Like Slowking G is an O-code, so it can click Toxic or whatever. Damn, this is just reading the Heatran overall. Nice play. Could have potentially read the Gliscor protecting turn 1 as well, but we see Gliscor come in and then die to Ice Spinner. Now, not scouting this is honestly insane. Zamazenta should have come in on turn 1, especially because I found out after the game that the Zama had Ice Fang, so Za for sure should have came in rather than sacking Gliscor. I honestly think it was fine to Terra the Gliscor here if it had Toxic, but I'm going to assume this set was SD or some bullshit, because... I don't know. I would have clicked Terra and just Toxic, because how can you just decide that this doesn't have Ice Spinner? But straight off the bat, Gliscor, which is a threat to every single team ever, is out of the way. And so Baddy is automatically relieved, doesn't have to deal with any shenanigans concerning that. It didn't wall too many Pokemon. It's not like Iron Moth is going to be able to break possible Flash Fire Heatran plus G-King anyways without some luck. So it's not like Gliscor was like a super necessary piece. But you never want to start a game like this, losing a Mon for no reason, especially because, like I said, the Zama was totally free to come in on +1 D-Knight. Zapdos comes in here as Ice Spinner gets clicked. It does 84, which is way more damage than I fucking thought it would do. But, I mean, this is D-Knight after all. It paralyzes itself as Discharge comes out. Now, Discharge 30%, Static being 30%. It's like a 50-50 to paralyze yourself on this turn anyways, so like whatever, you can't really call it hacks. Zapdos stays in to click Hurricane as Dragonite gets full parry. That's actually pretty tough for Baddy because the second Zapdos dies, Headlong Rush gets clicked and everybody dies. But Finch identifies now that he should keep the Zapdos for that reason, switches out on E-Speed. Zamazenta is able to come in. Baddy's able to chip the Zamazenta down to about 41%, which is nice, but that Zapdos staying alive is pretty good. So, like I said, the Zama does have Ice Fang, which it's going to reveal. Definitely was misplayed, though. Heatran lead, it was good into Deoxys. Baddy read that, click D-Knight. Zamazenta should have instantly been clicked. Would have avoided losing... Could have possibly lost Zapdos and gotten swept right there, too, had it not... Well, he would have got swept right there, because Zama would have killed after, but... Could have potentially lost Zapdos, too, but... All things considered, the bleeding was stopped. Zapdos does get roost opportunities as well, potentially on King Gambit and Primarina, so don't count Zapdos out just yet. Deoxys comes in here. Now, Finchinator switch out, bring in his Heatran as Baddy goes for a Psycho Boost. Psycho Boost does about 25 as Life Orb Rico shows. I think this was definitely a misplay by Baddy. I don't know what this Deoxys is at the time, but Zamazenta is never switching in. I mean, never staying in. Going for Crunch makes no sense, even if you expect Deoxys to set up, which, on this team, it looks like a lead Deoxys with screens. It doesn't even look like a setup Deoxys. We actually find out later in the battle it's Nasty Plot. I lied saying I don't know what it is. We find out in a few turns that it's Nasty Plot, but you don't know what the Deoxys is going to be from this matchup initially, and it hasn't done anything in the battle yet. It hasn't revealed any moves. So Finchinator would never stay in and click crunch there, even if the Deoxys goes for screens. Getting that extra damage won't do anything, especially when Heatran is pretty free. Even if Life Orb Superpower came out, Heatran would tank that and could potentially get up rocks, or just start Magma Storming to be annoying. So I think Heatran was always coming in, or Slowking G was always coming in. Psycho Boost was for sure wrong. Zamazenta cannot stay in there. Staying in there would just be giving up to King Gambit, Great Tusk, and that's your fast guy. So Za was never getting sacked there, especially when he already lost his Gliscor and the Zapdos is on potential, like, death's bed. Mons are not getting sacked like that. So clicking Psycho Boost there was for sure very wrong. Heatran comes in here, so Finchinator is now able to get some momentum back for himself. We see Primarina coming on Magma Storm. That shit does negative damage, 12%, literal negative damage. So you can pretty much confirm that the Primarina is Assault Vest. Flip turn gets clicked, which is a nice play. I wonder if he should have gone for rocks and called out that flip turn. He knows it's AV, judging from the damage. Clicking Surf into Slowking is fucking terrible because he's going to chilly out the turn after, and you're going to lose momentum. I feel like he should have gone for rocks, but whatever. Great Tusk comes in with the attack booster. Oh, it's not speed booster, it's attack booster. So this thing is actually, I mean, it was scary regardless, but Zapdos comes in here to fish for the poison as Rapid Spin gets clicked. Not poison, paralysis. Gets the paralysis, which is pretty big since Tusk low-key just sweeps this team with no para. It just terras into steel or whatever it's supposed to be. Ogerpon has to terra here to kill Great Tusk. We know that. Tusk is way too bulky and tanks that. But that was a pretty fortunate para from the Zapdos. Zapdos did his job, all things considered. Got the D-Knight full para so I get the Hurricane chip, and then also got past the Great Tusk. So even though Zapdos died, got rid of those two pretty annoying threats. But King Gambit's in the back, baby. Stay safe. King Gambit comes in here as Finchinator goes for a Ivy Cudgel, knowing that Baddy will probably not want to Katao Cleave / Iron Head into Heatran. So I guess he's expecting Swords Dance here as low kick gets clicked. Okay, low kick makes sense because he's trying to click the, catch the Heatran / the Za. If either one comes in, they might just die to that straight up because there's two deads on the field. Ivy Cudgel is a good play for damage, but I think Knockoff was honestly just better because that shit did nothing, 26. And this Gambit reveals lefties, so it basically is going to heal past whatever damage Ivy Cudgel out-damaged Knockoff by because of lefties. So I think he should have just knocked off. We see Sucker Punch get clicked here, which is for sure hella wrong. I don't know why you would ever Sucker Punch there. Ogerpon is not running Superpower unless it's on a banded Ogre, and this is clearly not banded, judging from the team having no removal and the fact that it just Ivy Cudgeled, revealing no band. So clicking Sucker Punch expecting Superpower or something, I have no idea why he Sucker Punch, but that was for sure super wrong. And Zamazenta is able to come in here. I would have just spammed low kick. There was nothing wrong with spamming low kick. You can't lose to Ogre. How does Ogre beat you? You just low kick, low kick, low kick. So he should have just spammed low kick. He wasn't taking shit from Cudgel either. Even if he got crit, he lives 2 crits with lefties. So that play right there was actually super egregious, clicking Sucker Punch, because now the score is 4-4 when it could have been 4-3. Iron Moth comes in, takes a close combat, takes 40% from that, but Finchinator has 2 pretty perfect switch-ins. Goes to Slowking G, not wanting to risk the possible Terra Blast ground by going into his own Heatran, which I agree with. No boost on the first one, but does boost the second one. Surf comes out. Yeah, I mean, even if 2 boosts, I think that shit would have needed the boost 2 times to have a chance at taking out Slowking, and then Ogerpon could still be faster. So not really any luck or anything in this exchange, just a regular exchange. Got the good damage on Slowking. Doesn't change too much since Gambit comes in here anyways. Heatran comes in now on the Iron Head, does 14%, showing that this Heatran does not have any Fizz Def EVs whatsoever. Slowking doubles in on the Primarina. Great play there to get HP back on the Slowking. Make sure that you can't lose to Primarina by any means, or even lose to the Life Orb Deoxys in the back. So that was a great double. Clicks Chili here because you know that move is free. Surf doesn't do shit. We see Heatran double in yet again. Okay, let's see what gets clicked here. We see the double into Slowking G. I don't know why he couldn't go for rocks. I mean, maybe Surf. He didn't want to switch Slowking into Surf at 69, but I'm pretty sure it lives 2 and still chilies into Ogre. And then with rocks up, it's like, nah, bro, I think he should have rocks, personally, rather than making that double again. I mean, it's not a bad play at all because the Slowking at the end of the day has more HP than it did before. So he didn't lose anything, but he could have gained more. It's not about not losing anything. It's about gaining more to your path to victory. It's not like we're here to not lose. Remember that. We're here to win. So I think he should have gone for rocks. In any case, the Slow King is pretty healed up. Primarina comes right back in as Wisp gets clicked. Okay, so this is like clicking Stealth Rock in the sense that you're able to chip the Primarina each turn, so you're not just relying on Magma. Okay, let's see. I think rocks are getting clicked here. Okay, Earth Power gets clicked here. Calling out the flip turn. Nice play. Nice play. Deoxys Speed comes in now. Glow King is probably going to pivot in if I had to guess. And it does as Nasty Plot gets clicked. I really did not expect this to be Nasty Plot looking at the team. Like, I saw this battle, like bits and pieces of it a few days ago, so I knew this was Nasty Plot after the fact, but from the team, it really didn't look like that. This team is crazy. Does this shit just not have hazards then? Or is the Great Tusk, Rocks, Rapid Spin, not Double Stab, Headlong, Ice Spinner? Or this team just has no hazards. It's just everybody is going for the full breaking. But Nasty Plot is a cool bait. This is why I like catching any like playoffs match. Because you'll see some offhand techs. Like, yes, this team looks pretty standard, Baddy's team, but Nasty Plot Deoxys is not what you would see on this normally. In any case, catches the Slow King. Nice play. I guess Finch didn't want to take a superpower there. Risk the possibility of losing a Gambit. Slow King is going to get fucking KO'd by +2 Life Orb Psycho Boost. I've seen this many times. I've used this set. Life Orb, Nasty Plot, Psycho Boost, Focus Blast, Recover. I don't know if Baddy's running Recover last. He could damn well maybe even be Stealth Rock last. Like, who knows? We see Ogre come in there. Psycho Boost gets clicked. He goes into Heatran there. I wonder if he was trying to catch... I think this was a mid-ground play. Catch the potential King Gambit coming in, and then if Psycho Boost gets clicked, you win the next turn anyways. And it's now in Magma Storm range. So that was a fine play, going from Ogre into the Heatran. I think that was smart. Hits Magma again on the Primarina, which is good. And is able to chip at that more and more. This thing is slowly but surely getting whittled. Surf does 44 because it's in Torrent range, which is definitely heavy. Surf again is free because Chili's always getting clicked. You would never click Sludge Bomb there into King Gambit for no reason and then go down 2-3. Heatran comes in and I believe Earth Power gets clicked. Primarina dies and Heatran is looking shoiced. Deoxys comes in. Focus Blast would do about 60, I think. Does 64 with that Life Orb as Magma Storm comes out. So far, so good, man. All Magmas have hit. Hurricane's connected as well. Can't complain. King Gambit comes in now as it turns Ghost and Will-O-Wisp is clicked. King Gambit against the fucking world. Where have we seen this before? Oh, every battle ever. Clicks Magma Storm, misses the attack as Low Kick comes out. Magma Storm would have done about 50% more or less. Ogerpong comes in here. All it can end up doing is encoring on Low Kick. Yeah, because if what's it called? If he attacks, he loses. Because Baddy definitely clicked Iron Head there to knock that out, and then Slow King is too low to live Iron Head. But even if you go into Slow King here, you're still cooked. Yep. Oh, actually, Cudgel did a shit ton. 49 is no joke. Damn. Slow King comes in on Low Kick, but Surf is not going to be enough. That is a max HP Gambit, and Gambit is able to run away with it after the Encore. This is where knocking off the leftovers earlier would have been so much better, because this shit lived forever. Also, I think if he Earth Powered, he would have won on this turn, rather than risking the Magma. I mean, he already hit like 4 Magmas before this, and hit a Hurricane, so missing 1 Magma is not really hacks. If anything, it was high time for that shit to miss. You can't hit all your fucking low accuracy moves, but knocking off the leftovers or clicking Earth Power instead of risking that Magma, I think the King Gambit would have for sure died. Because that shit did the fucking classic 1-6 reverse. Because, I mean, it wasn't 1-6, but you know what I mean. The Gambit reversed it pretty easily. This was a pretty roller coaster of a battle. I enjoyed this one a lot. I gotta say, leading off with Dragonite was a good call out. I don't know if I would make that play. You have to really identify what options you're breaking with and what order you're sending out your Mons in hyper offense to lead off with Dragonite. But he identified it good. Finchinator had a good comeback after Gliscor died immediately. The Zapdos was able to patch up some of those holes, so that was pretty nice as well. Overall, pretty exciting game. And yeah, that is the second match here. Let's move on to the third one. All right, game 3. We got a little Tinglu Moth versus Tinglu Moth. 70 to 90 GXE versus Attribute. Another semifinals game. I like the teams here. I like GXEs a lot more. I like this style of offense. Just spikes, plus most likely Scarf Gold, some special breaking options, some busted physical breaking options on this side. Attributes team, I like the defensive option of Clef plus, what's it called? Clef Corv Tinglu is a combo I've spammed myself, and is really easy to wall the majority of the meta with, but I don't like Iron Moth on these structures. It's always like some Boots Iron Moth, Morning Sun, or T-Spikes or something like that. Stop trying to make that shit work, man. That shit is not fire. Rest of the team is good, though. I've always liked Ting Lu plus Clef, plus Steel type. You could wall the whole metagame with that, but if we're analyzing the matchup here, pretty basic special spam with Bolt and Moth to break for each other. Once that Ting Lu goes down, checking one of them, the other should be able to pretty easily sweep. Looking at this team, what else do we see here? Ogre Pawn is pretty nasty. Terra Water kills everything except for Pult, so that would have to come in on the right turn, threaten back with Wisp. Zamazenta can be anything, IDEF or Life Orb or Banded. Well, nobody runs Banded anymore, but Life Orb or Vortex or IDEF, they all have potential into this team. Gold, I'm pretty sure, is Scarf. Otherwise, the fastest mon is just Zama. Actually, there's a booster Moth, so you could probably run Fizdef Gold on this team if you really wanted to. But yeah, I would say GXC's path to winning is a lot simpler than Attributes in the sense that he just has to bust through the Ting Lu, and then one of the guys is going to win. Also, Ogre is really easy to win against this team with Terra Water. Like, the only thing Attribute can do to hit that thing hard is his own Zama clicking CC, which doesn't kill unless it's Life Orb. And the rest of these mons all get absolutely fucked up by Terra Water, Cudgel. Like, there's literally no switch. So, Clef being Calm Mind is not going to be enough to win, because Gold's going to T-Wave it maybe, or Ting Lu's even going to Whirlwind it out, or just the other mons are going to muscle through. There's knockoff support probably from Ogre as well. Don't know what the Lu is, but probably just Defog. Zama is definitely a threat to GXC's team, though. It's 4 attack, possibly on Attributes team, just because this team's kind of weak otherwise. I'm hoping it's 4 attack. And 4 attack can put in the... It could put the beats on this team. Then again, I would wager it's probably IDEF Za on Attributes team more than it's going to be Calm Mind Clef. So it's actually probably IDEF Za. So he has a sturdier win con. Because Calm Mind Clef on this team could be weird. He might want Stealth Rock Clef plus Spikes Lu. That's what I've done in the past. It's obviously going to be Boots Pult. And then, yeah, Boots Moth is pretty likely as well. Let's hop into it. So we see Zamazenta lead into Ting Lu. Zamazenta leading basically suggests that it's going to be Bandit or Life Orb off the rip. And he was trying to lead into either Pult, Clef, or this Pokemon. Probably has Life Orb Heavy Slam for the Clef if this was led. We see Pult coming immediately on close combat. Nice pivot by Attribute. If you stay in there, you take 99%. Worst trade of your life. You're never staying in. U-turn gets clicked immediately. Doesn't want to Will-O-Wisp into Iron Moth or Golden Go, I guess. As Corviknight comes in on the Crunch. Crunch does 29%, and we see Life Orb come out, as well as seeing that the Corv is lefties. Now, taking 29% already is a red flag. That's way too much damage. This is a specially defensive Corv, which I do like that set a lot of the time. You're able to completely own Kyurem and stuff like that, but when you're facing a Life Orb Zama, you do not want this set. Close combat doing like 65%. We see Moth come in here as Attribute just goes for Roost, knowing that if CC does get clicked, he probably loses like net 15%, but he gets another turn of Life Orb, and he gets to just kind of scout out what GXC wants to do. If he is going to play that aggressive, just throwing out a random close combat like that. Sometimes you just got to make a play to feel out the other player. Even if you lose something like 15-20% health, you're not really losing that much at the end of the day. Okay. We see Moth come in and it's going to click Fiery Dance. This would only do like 60 to 70 to Corv anyways because it's Spit F. But we see something crazy. We see a Toxic, which is mad crazy. Nice Toxic knowing that Ting Lu has to come in. We then see a Substitute here in case this does go for Earthquake. But that Toxic means Ting Lu is taking those hits. So this was honestly the best set GXC could have had to doing consistent damage on Ting Lu. Because what would have happened otherwise? He would have clicked Fiery on the switch. Then he doesn't even have Sub. So he would have attacked again, died to EQ. Here, he's able to get this down to what, 44%? 43%. It's poisoned still. And he didn't lose his Moth. His Moth is at 50. And he got the Ogre roared in. By all means, this is like, it's pretty solid. So this crazy set, Sub-Toxic Fiery, ended up putting in work, man. I'm telling you, the playoffs is hype. We always see something weird come out. And this one definitely put in some work. Ogre Pawn comes in here. Dragapult pivots in on Cudgel. SD is way too greedy. You know the Corv is Spit F already from the crunch damage. This is at 43. What if he just clicked Whirlwind? Why would he not have clicked Whirlwind? Why was SD clicked? SD is for sure wrong. You definitely Cudgel. There's no switch. No, Cudgel is for sure right. SD is insane. No reason to click that play there. Unless he thought Spike was going to get clicked, and then he thought he was going to Trailblaze and just sweep 6-0. That's the only explanation. He thought Attribute would click Ruination or Spike, and then he would Trailblaze, kill it, and then kill the last 5. That's the only explanation. But SD is for sure wrong. Should have just taken his damage or his kill. Would have been nice to be able to do 40 minimum to this pult. Goes into gold on the wisp. Great play, knowing that Attribute's hand is forced and he has to click wisp. You're not U-turning on a ogre. Especially because GXE could stay in on that wisp and just trade with knockoff right there. He's boosted, so he would be able to win that 1v1. We see Moth come in on the Shadow Ball. Moth's good SpDef means it can tank it, but we see the SpDef drop, which is actually pretty fucking bad for Attribute, because he would have been able to Morning Sun this off. But now he's basically forced to go into his Corv to eat that up. I wonder if that was the best play. I guess it's better than Corv taking a trick, but GXE is never clicking trick, because what if Ting Lu comes in? I would have gone into my Corviknight personally. Like, yes, this guy did get SpDef dropped, which is tough, because now he has to switch his Moth out. But Corv is a better switch in than this every time. So I would have just gone Corv. He's not clicking trick. There's a 43% Ting Lu. Why would you trick your Scarf onto that sack fodder? That would be terrible. We see a double to Zamazenta here, which is a good call out by GXE, knowing that Attribute's not going to do some bot shit and just let Moth die. We might see a hard switch to Pult here, just because CC is pretty free. Alright, Ting Lu comes in anyways. Let's see if this U-turns or not. Okay, does click Pult. Yeah, it's even if you know CC does 70, Attribute can make that roost play again that he made earlier on in the game when GXE switched after crunching the first time. So you're never going to crunch 100% Corv. So that Pult is pretty damn free. Will-O-Wisp comes out here as Ting Lu is going to go for the rocks, which is nice. Hit that Corv on the switch for some chip. It'll definitely help out. U-turn into the Moth. Ruinate. That shit is down to 30%. It's going to die to EQ here. As Clef comes in, we see a double into Moth. Okay, nice play by GXE. Damn, he's playing mad offensive. Not doing any lazy plays. Like thinking, oh, you know, this is at 30%, he's just going to sack it. That's not happening. This is a playoffs battle. You need to make sure all of your Pokemon stay for exactly what you need them to do. You don't just throw out Mons and go for it. Especially in a matchup like this, where Attribute's not running Hyper Offense and then waiting to send out Gambit or Dragonite. That's not what his team is. He's not going to throw out a 30% Iron Moth, especially when he has switch-ins to this shit regardless. So going into Moth and like GXE recognizing that he can't do these like bot plays, you want to get the kill first when you're running offense. If you don't get the kill first running offense, it can be really frustrating. So that was a nice Iron Moth double. But I guess he also knows that these Moths likely wall each other. Attributes is going to be Morning Sun double stab. This one is also double stab, but like toxic. So he was probably just thinking, fuck it, I'm going to spam Fiery Dance and go for what I can go for. And it's looking good at this point because the Moth is able to get past the Ting Lu. Pult comes in. If this isn't Terra Fairy, Pult's going to knock it out pretty freely. This is going to click what, Draco? Clicks Draco, gets a crit, which is nice because now U-turn's going to kill after the burn damage, and that stops this thing from getting off the final Ruination or the final Spike. That was actually a pretty nice crit then. It's pretty fortunate. Gold comes in here, clicks Make It Rain, stays in with his Clef. He was trying to make a boss call. He was trying to catch the trick. Because even if you go into Corv on Shadow Ball, you're chilling, bro. It does nothing. It does like 30-something%, like 31% after lefties. Even with a drop, you can still roost that off like one time. So he just got called out here. I understand staying with your Clef because Make It Rain, clicking Make It Rain in a Corv is like kind of annoying, but it's not like GXE loses a Pokemon doing that. If anything, it's fine for GXE because Corv takes rocks, takes 20 from Make It Rain. It's going to have to roost that off or it's going to lose to Shadow Ball later on. Staying in with Clef was kind of crazy. I understand where Attribute was coming from, thinking, okay, I'm pretty behind. I haven't gotten much damage. I need to pull a trigger and see if I can force him to make this play, but that shit did not work out. I don't think that was the right play. Because even if it ended up working and Trick or Shadow Ball was clicked, well, if Trick was clicked, then that wasn't a bad play. But even if Shadow Ball is clicked, I don't think that... Then again, Ting Lu did go for Stealth Rock, so... There's a high chance that maybe he just had Flamethrower with his Clef and he just wanted damage. It wasn't like a terrible play or anything to stay in with the Clef. It was like weighted odds. I just think the odds weren't 50-50 like that. Like GXE can definitely click Make It Rain and lose less if Corv comes in. But Attribute was just thinking, fuck it, I'm going to go for this shit at 5-5 and try to make a statement. And sometimes this type of play does work. So I'm hesitant to call this a bad play. It's just a play where the odds weren't exactly 50-50, so I think he could have waited to make that play. We see Moth come in, finally is able to Morning Sun that damage off as the Za comes in here, not wanting to take a Stone Edge. Good call out by GXE to click close combat. Does a shit ton, which means that this is probably... Oh, it is Lefty's IDEF. Crunch. Ooh, tried to catch the gold. Damn. Okay. We see another CC there, putting this in Shadow Ball range. Now goes into the gold. Damn, strong plays. Strong plays. He got the most out of that. Got this in shadow ball range as well. And that Zama is back and able to crunch whoever, whenever. 32%. It actually did less than I thought. I said it was going to do 31, 32 after lefties. This does 26 after lefties. Damn, 27 from shadow ball. That means it would have done 20 with lefties. Yo, Spadef Corv is no fucking joke. Nah, he definitely should have gone to it then on that one turn. Yo, look at this damage. Even with the Spadef drop, you can literally troll this thing. Look at this damage. Free U-turn. Little 4% here. Yup. Moth comes back in. Free fiery dance as the bolt comes in to T-bolt after. Damn, man. Spadef Corv is a bigger beast than I thought. No boost as Toxic is clicked. These guys running the same shit. 75 is nuts. GXC is definitely going to click T-bolt here as Overheat gets clicked. Morning Sun, Toxic, Overheat, Fiery. Yo. Yo. Yo, what? What the fuck is this? Mono fire? I boost my special attack just to lower my special attack. Nah, I'm trolling, but that honestly is not the worst thing, because that +1 Overheat can kill a lot of neutrals, but this is a weirdo set. I mean, it did its job this battle. It's not like Sludge Wave would have changed anything here. Actually, Sludge Wave could have maybe 2-hit KO'd, and then there's no maybe. I mean, it would have been a Thunderclap turn, but I don't know. That set's a little too hipster for me. We see Overheat come out. It's going to die to the next T-bolt. But yeah, because he clicked Toxic, GXC is like, great. I don't have to get into this Thunderclap mind game. I'm up 5-3 now like a boss. Thunderclap for extra damage. 34 is still so much damage. That's nice in case this Terras. Then the gold is still able to kill with Shadow Ball. Corv's going to come in here maybe. Oh, no Corv. I mean, I know he loses if he gets Spadef dropped, but I think you have to risk that at that point. I don't think you have a choice. Alright, here you definitely crunch, because it's free. Oh, he's trying to give him a chance to crawl back. Alright, Draco's there. What will we see here? Ogre? Okay. Gold. Shuttle Ball's gonna get clicked again. Maybe he tricks actually. That's actually the right. Yeah, trick makes more sense, because if he clicks Hex, he loses to gold tearing the next turn. Trick is a confirmed win. Shuttle Ball, 27. So this was Bravebird Spadef. U-turn, Roost, Bravebird, and then Fog. Interesting. Bravebird Spadef is pretty cool. I guess you can break Kyurem subs, and then you still hit Ogre, since this team is weak as fuck to Ogre. This gold not being recover is pretty scary though. Terra Ghost Pult, it doesn't kill this. Yeah, and it's gonna Terra as gold also Terras. Yeah. Damn, that was risky though, not having a recover on this. But I still think he did the appropriate endgame. Damn, this is a really, really, really close game. There wasn't really that much hacks. The only thing that was tough was for Attribute when his Moth got Spadef dropped on this turn here, because then he had to switch out rather than get the free Morning Sun. And then GXC was able to take advantage of that by going into his Zama. Yeah, but even then, I already explained how Corv was the better switch, since it takes literally 23% after lefties. So even with a drop, it's free. GXC definitely played the offense matchup good. He threw out so many fucking attacks, kept the Pokemon he needed, threw out what he needed accurately. This turn was pretty crucial. Like I said, I don't think this was like a super huge throw from Attribute or anything like that. It was weighted odds. He's thinking, okay, if this guy does make the try-hard play with gold, trying to catch my Corv, I can, you know, end up knocking. What if it was Calm Mind knockoff and he knocked off the Scarf? Then he probably could have won right here, you know? I don't know. So it was definitely a very close game. I enjoyed this one. This Moth set is so crazy though. This is nuts. Clef Tinglu will always be good in my heart, even if Clef did literally nothing this game. As for this offense, this is pretty cool. I would use something like this on ladder for free wins. Although my Dragonite 6-0ing this shit. Like quite literally instantly 6-0ing, but whatever. Let's move on to the next game. Okay. Dahli versus Kebab MLML. So we have a little offense here. Samurott plus Cinderace. I started all of that, if you guys remember, with the iconic Samuel L. Stackson team. Swords Dance Samurott back in the day. Shout out Big CTC for making that, but enough self-glaze. This combination is great. Samurott gets up the spikes, but if you end up playing against a spike team of your own, or they court change them against you, you can always court change them back. And then you got Tusk as well for even more hazard control. This team is pretty flexible in that regard. If you want spikes up, you have access to them. But if you want to keep hazards off, you want to play a hazardless game, you can also do that. Gold on this team could be any set. Scarf, Balloon, T-Wave. It's more likely going to be defensive just because Enamorous is a better Scarfer. I don't believe in Scarf. I'm not Scarf. I don't believe in Specs Enamorous or non-choice Enamorous, to be honest. I've had some success with Calm Mind on the latter, but I don't think that shit's that consistent at all. Dragonite on this team is definitely going to be fucking Dragon Dance because something needs to boost speed. And then Tusk is probably just Helmet Rocks back up into Gambit. Overall, I like this team. Dahli's team is something that I would probably bring myself to a tournament game. Like I said, Samurai Cinderace is just bread and butter. Kebab has a semi-stall team. This isn't full stall just because this team has mad win conditions. Probably SD knockoff Ogre, Curse Dondozo, maybe SD Gliscor, possibly Nasty Plot Pecharunt, and then these two in the back with being Blissey and Skarm or just to get up hazards. Like this, it looks like an annoying fat stall team, but it's more semi-stall / win condition, stall balance, if anything. Like this team has many different ways to win versus Dahli's team. So T-Wave Hex Gold can beat Dondozo and even troll Gliscor since EQ doesn't 2-hit KO. Can't sleep on that. Samurott also has access to Ceaseless Edge and Knockoff, so that's really good. Kebab's best threat is going to be Gliscor. Gliscor's capable of Toxic Knockoff every single Pokemon and can 1v1 every Mon here. If it Terra Waters, I think it actually just walls fucking everybody. Yeah, I think it literally walls everybody. So, Gliscor's definitely going to be Kebab's best Pokemon, and then Dahli's is probably just going to be that Samurott because it's going to force these hazards up and be able to knock off. I would say that if Gold has Trick, there's also that. But I would say Kebab definitely has the matchup. I can see his win paths way more than I can see Dahli's just because the Gliscor is so fucking annoying. And again, I think this is set up win con spam. Nasty Plot Petch can also fry this team very easily. The only thing that can kill it is Gold Shadow Ball, which max HP Petch lives, by the way. And Petch is faster than Gold, so if it's not Scarf, Nasty Plot Petch is going to kill Gold with +2 Shadow Ball. And then, of course, it's going to beat the last few. Anyways, let's get into it. We see a great Tusk lead as Gliscor leads off. Good lead predicting Gliscor, so you can just Ice Spinner turn 1. We see Knockoff get clicked turn 1 to knock off the Rocky Helmet, which makes no fucking sense. Ice Spinner comes out and Gliscor fucking dies. This is one of those plays that bad players make when they think they're shiced, but you're not shiced. And also, even if this play worked, it was a bad play because you gained nothing. Knocking off Gliscor's helmet makes no difference. I mean, knocking off Great Tusk's helmet makes no difference. Is this so what? Blissey doesn't take chip from Seismic Toss? So Waterfall Dondozo doesn't take that extra chip? This is the worst play ever. Losing your biggest threat as well, that was able to troll every single Mon, either with SD, which straight up sweeps this build, or Toxic, which, again, straight up sweeps this build. No way you click Knockoff to damage yourself with Helmet Chip to confirm Ice Spinner. I know Dahli burst out laughing watching this game, seeing that. Like, bro, what are we doing in the semifinals? That's the other end. That's the other part of playoffs. You'll see some crazy shit on both ends. Some cool stuff, and then you'll see some crazy diabolical throws. People doing shit. Like, yo, what was that play, yo? He really was in there thinking, oh, yeah, I'm gonna kill him with this one. You did 6%, and you fucking lost your best Pokemon. Blissey sets up the rocks, which more or less confirms that this was probably an SD Gliscor. And this is what, Spike Skarmory and Stealth Rock Blissey? Yeah! Bro, he probably had quad setup. Gliscor auto-swept this team. Noob-ass plays. Petch is still in the back, though. Taking 24 from Pyro makes me think that it's fully Fizz-Def. Shadow Ball gets clicked. Great play. Does 50 to Gold. Gold has to switch out now. Doesn't want to stay in and die to the next one, as Pecharunt is faster. Gold down to 5% is pretty nice. Skarmory comes in off the flip turn. It's not Helmet on the Skarm. Gold's going to click Recover here. It would have been so nice to have a Gliscor, I'm sure. But now we're forced to go into Blissey. Perfect. Calm Mind gets clicked. I would just Seismic Toss here. As Kebab, as Great Tusk comes in. Nice low chip. Get that thing down to 54%. Skarmory comes in on the Rapid Spin. We're going to put this game on fast. No disrespect to either player. I just want to see some progress made. Petch doubles in on the U-turn. Shadow Ball there. I mean, not Shadow Ball, recovers there because it doesn't want to take extra Pyro chip, which is fine. Blissey comes in as T-Wave. Hex is now confirmed. One of my favorite sets. Tusk comes in again on Seismic Toss. Slowly but surely, it's getting whittled. Skarmory double on the Ace. Pecharunt, Pyro Ball once. Okay, another one. Okay, no U-turn. I thought he would Pyro Ball again on Shadow Ball. Samurai coming in is very fair, though. The fact that this keeps cooking flip turn makes me think maybe this is Scarf, but then what would the Enamorous be? What would the Enamorous be? Ace comes back in, Petch double, Pyro Ball gets clicked. Oh, hold on. Let me slow that back down. So Petch stayed low. That was actually a very good setup. Doubling to this after the Seismic Toss. So this was a great play. After the Tusk took the Seismic Toss, doubled in on the Scarm, got the Pyro Ball chip on the Petch. U-turn is free. Shadow Ball is always getting clicked because Kebab doesn't want Golden Go to come in for free and threaten out. Able to click flip turn here because Petch is forced, and now this Cinder Ace reveals to be Taunt, and it's able to taunt the Petch and keep that low. What a cool set. Blaze, Taunt, U-turn, Pyro Ball. Yo, this is huge though. This put in work. That's one of those one-off techs that ends up really putting in some work. Enamorous comes in, doubles into Samurott, knowing Blissey is free. Good play. No reason to do that bot shit and let rocks go up for free. Now Ceaseless Edge starts getting clicked. We want to see the spikes go up. Skarmory's at 56. Doesn't want to risk that. Gold comes in, takes 19 from Waterfall, which confirms that this is truly max Fizdef. Samurott comes in on another Waterfall, which is funny. I guess Dahli expected Kebab to go into Blissey on T-Wave, but Kebab's thinking, fuck it. I tank T-Wave and I can rest later. Let me get chip. He already fucked himself pretty bad losing his Glass score at this point. That was his main means of doing damage to Gold. Even the most Spadef Dondozo takes like 40 from Hex. From 0 special attack Gold though. And I'm pretty sure this is a Fizdef Dondozo given the team. Yeah, flip turn doing 6% basically confirms that damage. Samurai comes back in. Blissey, nice double. Never giving up any momentum whatsoever because there's no reason to. When you're playing against Stall, they're more often than not going to be in the reactive player position. And Kebab even has win conditions on his team, but he just hasn't had anything going his way. Alright, so finally we see Stealth Rock going up. Blissey had the Fizdef spread, so it's able to tank 2 hits. Dondozo comes in on U-Turb. Enamorous comes in. I think he's going to double on Blissey again. Okay, doesn't end up doubling on Blissey. He specs, judging by that damage. Okay, so Samurai confirms Scarf. Blissey is specs. Don't sleep. I mean, not Blissey is specs, my bad. Samurai confirms Scarf. Enamorous is specs. Sorry, it's been a lot of battles that I've been narrating. You could see Terra Blast, Enam maybe be able to pull something out. I don't know. Blissey gets T-Waved. Gold sits here and spams T-Wave. Blissey's revealed its set. Stealth Rock, Calm Mind, Seismic Toss, Soft Boiled. We'll put this back on fast as these guys continue to just kind of stalemate each other. Sitches out brings in Cinderace on the toss, knowing that gotta switch out at some point or gonna lose all your moves on Gold. It's a losing battle for Gold anyways. U-turn gets clicked. Nice play by Kebab to stay in, because Pyro Ball would have fried that shit. Click Soft Boiled, no para, which is nice. Rapid Spin's free here. Goes for Headlong Rush, trying to catch the Petch. I kind of get it, but the Petch is so low that I don't think that was ever getting clicked. Kebab's just gonna spike again, right? Yep. But Cinderace is back, clicks Pyro Ball, nice damage. Spike gets clicked again, okay. Dozo comes in on the taunt. Skarm comes back in on the U-turn. Enam is here for that free blast. Blissey still takes an okay amount of damage. If Dahli can always keep rocks up, there exists a world where Specs Moonblast sweeps. Skarmory finally gets sacked because the Dondozo is weak to Pyro Ball taunt. I think he still should have gone Dondozo on that turn. Pyro Ball would have done like 10%. He should have gone Dondozo this turn. U-turn's not getting clicked. He could have forced something against the Cinderace. If Cinderace clicks taunt, it dies to Waterfall, and then Dondozo can still rest later. That was a bad play, sacking the Skarm. Clicks taunt on the Petcheron there, which is the right play from Dahli. I also would not want Petcheron to heal. Kebab clicks Shadow Ball instead of Malignant Chain, which is insane. Maybe he thought that Gold would come in on some like 50-50 cover all options shit, but that was for sure incorrect. Should have gone for the Malignant Chain. Samurott comes in again. Great play knowing Shadow Ball is going to come out because it's in range of Shadow Ball, the Cinderace I mean. So really maximized this Petcheron not doing anything. This is the most times a Petcheron has gotten off attacks but not actually accomplished enough in a battle. Comes in here on the Specs Moonblast. Like, these are whack-ass plays. Why are you going to Petch when you have a Blissey? Was he trying to catch an impossible double to Ace, which has taunt? This is nonsense. D-Knight comes in on rocks. Okay, Terra Blast fly and clicks Terra Blast. Nice play, getting that started. Kebab has nothing for this. Even the most Fizdef of Dondozo is able to get handled by this because it's doing 26. Golden Go comes right back in. The hazards are up now. The hazards are up. But Ace is still going to be able to court change those away on 2 of the Pokemon here. Make it rain gets clicked. Okay. Clicks Hex, hoping maybe Dondozo gets clicked, but that's not happening. Thunder Wave, Hex, T-Wave. Dahli eventually has to sack something and then get the court change off. Oh, you can actually go hard D-Knight. There's no need to sack. It's got to be Roost then. It took Rocks as well, which is interesting. It could be Covert Cloak. This team does get 6-0'd by Garganical. So it could be Covert Cloak D-Knight. That wouldn't be the dumbest thing. Water Garg quite literally 6-0's this. Even with Cloak, Water Garg could still 6-0 this Dragonite team if it had Curse, but them's the breaks sometimes. Recovers here as Dondozo goes for Waterfall, but it is really not doing enough whatsoever. Nice. Oh, that was a great switch into Ace. Wow. You saw that? Goes Ace knowing. Oh, let me put this shit back on normal. That was a great call out. After clicking Recover here, and the Dondozo is able to get rid of its sleep, knows that Kebab is not staying in, because what's there to gain by having your Dozo get paralyzed for no reason? The Blissy's 2 free, so that was nice. Free court change is free. You turn out, which is nice. Enamorous comes in, no longer has to worry about the rocks being up. Blissey comes in here. It's still going to be able to take 2 Moonblasts, but recovers are going down little by little, or soft boileds rather. Ace comes back in here. You can't Seismic Toss this Kebab. Powerball off the Blaze is going to fry this Blissey. I'm actually surprised it lived. I thought it was going to die for sure. W Blissey. Enam comes in, Moonblasts. Ogre comes in, Samurott gets sacked. D-Knight comes in, clicks Terra Blast Fly. Dozo comes in, but that is doing way too much. 26 to 28%. Especially the fact that Dahli has Roost, so doesn't have to worry about Dondozo ever getting past like this. Also, again, the fucking Golden Ghost max Fizdef. Once Blissey died, it was over. Biggest mistake here was Gliscor getting sacked. But I would say Dahli outplayed pretty heavily because Kebab had the tools. Like, he had win cons, he had knockoff. This Dozo could have won the game too if you just don't sack your Gliscor at the end of the day. So this was man-made error. Ogre comes in here, clicks U-turn for no reason. Hex does 51, as you can see. Dozo goes back to full. You can honestly end up T-waving again this turn if you really wanted to, but that doesn't change anything. Oh, he really clicked it. Yeah. Goes into D-Knight here, not wanting to get knocked off. Terra Blast comes in on the switch to Dozo. That thing is staying asleep, so as long as it doesn't Sleep Talk or Curse on this exact turn, the game is over, and so the game is over. Because even if Dozo pulls a Curse at this point, it's cooked. And that's going to be that. Pretty nice game to watch, except for that turn 1. That turn 1 was so fucking stupid, and basically threw away his chances of winning. But this team was pretty dope. Scarf Samurott, Specs Enam, Taunt Ace. This is some shit I would steal and use. Nice team. Let's get to the final game. Pop Smoke, RIP to the late Pop Smoke versus Mako. We got an Hyper Offense versus Hyper Offense match. Ain't no other way to say it. One guy's using Glim lead. The other is using Deoxys lead. It's going to get active. So, looking at Mako's team, we got that same special spam we saw that GXC used versus Attribute in the form of Moth plus Raging Bolt. But no Tinglu, no Zama pivots, none of that. We're going straight HO. I think the Deoxys is pretty clearly screens on this team because everybody has the opportunity to set up. Pop Smoke doesn't need screens. A lot of his guys just hit off the bat and don't really go for setup. Lastmon, Gambit, probably low kick on this team. Probably low kick on both of these teams if I had to guess. Just because when I run offense, I like low kick Gambit for opposing. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. I'd say this is fairly even. Moth is a huge threat for Pop Smoke. Has to use Glim to beat that thing 1v1 and get rid of its booster with either that being red card or just trading into it, because the Moth can basically 6-0 him with Fiery Dance, Sludge Wave, and if it's Dazzling Gleam, it's super fucked up because it's going to resist Sucker Punch and Sweep. There are definitely some other like decent mons on both sides. Like Tusk can fry Mako's team if Ogre takes chip and Hatterene takes some chip, but yeah, we'll see. Alright, so Ogerpon leads off. We see the Ogre versus Ogre lead. Hornleech gets clicked for 61 as the other one clicks Hornleech, so it's probably the best possible turn you could ask for as Mako lose the speed tie and crit to get back the most potential HP. So Mako's definitely satisfied with that turn. That's pretty funny. Neither running Power Whip because they're both soft. Me personally, you know I don't leave home without it. Iron Moth comes in here. They both want to switch out into their Pokemon that can end up taking the grass move. One of those being King Gambit, the other one being Iron Moth, okay. Glim comes in here, surely with red card to just force this thing out, but this is a free sub for Iron Moth. Here we see a pretty cool turn. Iron Moth goes for Terra Ground as Glamora also has to go for Terra Ghost. This play honestly makes sense from Pop Smoke, because it's like, even if Moth isn't Terra Ground and you quote-unquote waste your Terra, if this is Terra Ground, he would quite literally lose the game right there, as this would Oko him, because he's red card as you're going to see. This would Oko him, and then Moth would be left behind a sub to kill the remaining Pokemon. So that Terra callout was honestly a crazy play, because one, it was Terra Blast Ground, so he wins that trade in the sense that Terra's off the field, that mental headache is gone. But also two, even if it wasn't Terra, and it just went for a regular attack, he still stops himself from getting auto-swept. So it definitely wasn't a terrible play by any means. Shit was a pretty shice play overall. As for Mako, if Mako was a real boss, we would have seen a Terra Blast Ground immediately on the switch to Glamora, because Pop Smoke has no other play, but that's one of those plays that I can say as a commentator rather than a player. But if I was in a field, you know I would have made that play. I'm trolling. Anyways, Glamora is going to put up those rocks, which is great. Everybody on the team besides King Gambit takes decent damage from rocks. Switches into Enamorous on the Thunderclap. Pretty big call out. The Glamora is red card, so I feel like this Bolt could have very easily gone for an attack, but if it was going to go for an attack that wasn't Thunderclap, I guess it would have been a dragon move, trying to click the Tusk as Enamorous pivots in here. We'll see what happens next. Enamorous obviously can't stand and die to Thunderclap. Alright, Tusk comes in, trying to catch the electric move. Huge Dragon Pulse call out. Not a lot of mans would make that play, man. A lot of players would think, oh, you know, obviously going to switch into the Tusk after baiting the electric move with the Enamorous. But I'm telling you, not a lot of players would click that in the playoffs. That was a tough-ass call out. Owned. Personally, I had Draco on mine, so I got the full fucking, you know, meal. But I get it. That was pretty tough. So that was a dope Dragon Pulse. Even though it doesn't matter that much as the Tusk drops its defense. I don't think... Okay, so this is for sure a wrong play. This play is amazing, Dragon Pulsing on the Switch. But sacking all of your Bolt's health to kill a 17% Tusk, that ain't it, Chief. That ain't it. Okay. But we'll see. Thunderclap comes out, does so fucking much to Darkrai. Man, Raging Bolt is the king of trades. Trade. This thing is a machine. Deoxys comes out. It is able to knock this thing out at the range it's at. Let's see what gets clicked. Light Screen. Okay, screens. Darkrai comes back in on the Psycho Boost. Nice play by Pop Smoke. No reason to sack your guy for no reason. Right? Don't lose sacks in offense versus offense, as I always say. Screens are going up, one by one. Hatterene comes in. It's time to start setting up. I don't know what this this Rise coverage is. Probably just Sludge Bomb, Ice Beam, if I had to guess. Switches out regardless as Draining Kiss is clicked. Okay. Glamora's going to be able to Mortal Spin. Is this not Calm Mind? Why didn't this shit Calm Mind? I guess because expected to switch out on the King Gambit after anyways, but I would have Calm Minded. Iron Head on the Switch. Gets a crit, which means does quite a lot of damage. That would have done like 10% without the crit, so that was pretty fortunate. That was a pretty fortunate crit. This shit's now in Moonblast range, Cudgel range, after 2 more rock switchings. Alright, well, I guess not Cudgel range because Ogerpon comes in and fucking dies. Alright, Darkrai comes in here, goes for Focus Blast, misses. Oh my god, that was terrible. And this thing was faster than everybody. And we know Deoxys can't touch it. Oh my god, bro. And Terra was yo, that was a crazy dodge. Especially because Darkrai has Focus Blast. Bruh. So King Gambit was cooked. That shit was over with. Yo. That was too challenging. We see Moth come in. Why is the Moth modest on this team? What the fuck is this? Wasn't this shit Speed Booster? Bro, Speed Booster modest. What? Oh wait, no, it's Scarf Enam. Right? Did it reveal that yet? Alright, it's just Scarf Enam. Okay, goes into Deoxys. This is Timid Scarf. Oh shit. Thought it was Modest Scarf. You know, I always run Modest Scarf Enam, so I kind of get it. But also just assuming that it's not fucking Timid is crazy. Sacking that Mon. Okay. Ogre comes in here. Cudgel doesn't kill. You need a crit. But wants to keep that to tank Sucker Punch later. I think you just sucker punch here as pop smoke. Ooh, well, sucker doesn't kill, but he ends up getting crit. Definitely unlucky as balls. Nah, this was definitely some robbery. And sucker's gonna kill. That was a pretty tough game. I wonder if this was avoidable. If you sucker punch here, oops. Hold on. Okay, let me go back to that turn. The first focus blast missed on the gambit was obviously fucking crazy though. So here, if you sucker, you get this down to like 5%, and then you get crit. And you can maybe win with Moonblast. You probably gotta crit the Hatterene. I don't know. I think I would have sucker punched. I think sucker punch is the right play. Even if, like, I get it. If you don't get crit, this is fine. But you can get crit. So I think sucker punch is actually the right play. Unless you thought King Gambit was coming in. King Gambit's never fucking coming in. Scared of what? Encore? I think maybe. I mean, I can't blame him for getting crit. If he didn't get crit there, he would have killed this and won instantly. But I still think sucker punching can outplay crit the way I said. But I guess you do run the risk of some encore nonsense. But I don't know. That was tough, though. Obviously got robbed pretty bad because if the focus blast hit on this turn, none of that like stuff that followed happens after. But that's going to be that. Unlucky for bro. We're at a tiebreak now in this tournament. So there's going to be a best of 3. ABR versus Attribute, I believe. So we saw Attribute lose to GXE. We saw Separation lose to ABR. But Separation and Attribute are teammates. GXE and ABR are teammates. You pick your player for OU that you want to send out. ABR, like I said, he's now 9-1. He's going to break. He's trying to break his record of 10-1 from the past. That only one mysterious battler was able to give him a loss that season. That being said, I'm going to try to catch that live because that's going to be amazing. I hope you all enjoyed the tournament coverage. Always love doing this. Long-ass video for today. Wasn't my intention for the vid to be that long. But you know what? It was epic. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Also, let me know if you want to see me post Gen 9 OU lives again. I'm feeling like playing Gen 9 after all this Zal LARPing recently. But see y'all soon. Have a good one. Peace.